Good morning. Today we'll discuss about the concept data structures. Okay, um, data structure is the main concept. So before actually going through the data structures, you should have some prerequisites. You should understand the basic concepts, functions, structures, pointers, dynamic memory allocation. Then it is easy for you to follow data structures. Okay. Data structure is the next advanced. Till now we have covered some part A. Part it comes under part B in your curriculum. Okay. So in data structure, you should understand some basics. What is data? What is structure? What is data? What is information? Okay. What is data? What is data? Data, we are living in the world of data, right? Everywhere we use data. If you go to railway reservation system, we use data. If you go to supermarket system, use data. So we are living in with data. Data is scattered everywhere. You have to capture the data and organize it and store it and then manage it effectively and efficiently with the help of software tools. So data, if you, for example, if you go to railway reservation system, if I want to go from Mysore to Chennai, so you go to railway station, you go to the reservation counter, you take the request form, where you're going to fill some details, right? Your name is a string type of data. Your age is an integer type of data, is it not? Your destination is a string type. Your date of journey is what? That is a date type data. So different types of data which you are going to input into the system, right? You are going to give that. So the data processing system, the machine, process that and give the ticket, that is the meaningful form. That is, data is what? Facts and figures. Data is facts and figures. When data is in raw form, which is not yet processed, it is facts and figures. Once it gets processed, it becomes information. For example, you take a credit card. If you stop, for example, if you are using a credit card, you are doing transactions daily, and periodically after 1 month after the billing cycle, you get the credit card bill which tells you what are the transactions that you are. That is an information. Daily the transaction that you made is what? So you are purchasing something. That is data. Once data gets processed, you get the report data, that is the bill, that is the information, processed data. Even in railway reservation, you will get the ticket. No, that is the information, processed data. So once data gets processed, you get information. Is it not? For that, you use the data processing system, data processing machine, computer. Is it not? So these are some basics. What is data? What is information? What is data processing system? Okay. So here our discussion is restricted to data structures, is it not? Data structures. So it is, definition is what? You see, when you want to store data in a computer, then you should know the concept called variable, right? I want to store the data in somewhere in computer in a programming language. There comes a concept. If you store the data in a variable, then it becomes a data type. So depending upon the different types of data that you are going to put in a variable, you are going to have different types of variables, different types of data. If I store the string type of data in a variable, it acts as a string variable. If I store the integer data value in a variable, then it becomes an integer data type, integer variable. So if you store a floating point constant in a variable, it becomes a floating. So there are two things that are associated with data. That is, what type of data you are going to define, and what are the associated operations the data is associated with it. For example, if you store the integer in an integer variable, integer data, it acts as an integer variable. You can do some addition, subtract, basic arithmetic operations. For example, string that you can't perform multiplication, is it not? So if you store the string type of data in a variable, so the data types gives what? Two information: what type of data you are having in a variable and what are the operations that are associated with that. Is it? That is data type. So we are studying data structure. What is data structure is, while storing in a computer, you have to organize it and store it in a appropriate format, logical organization, is it not? So that at the later stage it is very easy for me to manage the data effectively and efficiently. So definition is what? Organizing, arrangement. We can use these words: arrangement of data, logical organizing, logical. You can use some words: logical organizing, arrangement of data while storing in computer. While storing in a computer. Where you are going to store all this data? In a hard disk, right? So different ways of storing, different ways of organizing. So that becomes what? Data structure. Okay. The definition is very important. You should know the definition. Then data structure, what you are going to study in data structures. So it is primarily classified into two types. One is primitive data structures, primitive, and another is non-primitive data structures. Primitive data structure is what? It is a fundamental data, basic data types, built-in data types. Okay, primitive, that already you worked with that, right? So in the previous classes, for example, integer, float, strings, character, pointers, structures. These are all what? Basic data types. Primitive was basic, fundamental. In non-primitive, you are having two types. Non-primitive, you are having two classification. One is what? Non-primitive data types. Okay. Linear and non-linear. What is linear data types? In linear, again you are having these stacks, queues, lists, array. Actually, arrays also is there. You can write arrays. Then write here also. So linear data structures means the arrangement of data is in a linear fashion, because there is one element is connected with another element, one to one. It is not connected with many other elements. One item in an array, for example, you take an array. Array is what? All the elements stored in adjacent locations, continuous storage of data, right? One element is connected with another element, next element in an array, in a sequential fashion, in a linear fashion. All the elements are stored sequentially here. But in non-linear, we have two types: trees and graphs. Trees means what? This is non-linear. This one element is connected with many elements. It is random. Okay, it is not sequential. Okay, trees are non-linear data structures. Okay, graphs, it is not in our syllabus. This is also non-linear, where the elements are stored in a hierarchical fashion in trees. That is one element and then having some number of it is like a hierarchical parent-child relationship, one to many relationship like. Okay, so we'll discuss all those things later. So this is the basic classification. Again here, if for all these data structures, linear and non-linear, so the basic operation that you are going to perform with data structure is what? Creation, insertion, deletion, updation. So these are the things. For example, if you take a array is already studied. Okay, stacks is a data structure. You want to create a stack. You want to add an item into the stack. The stack is a data structure. Okay, where elements are stored in some fashion, linear, lost in first stored fashion. We'll discuss all those things. Queues is also data structure where you are going to store the data. Okay. What are the operations? You have to create a stack, right? You have to insert an element into the stack. You have to delete an element from the stack, and you have to update whatever the existing element I want to modify. So, for example, list also. List is it is a data structure where it's common operations: creation of list, insertion of element into the list, deletion of element from the list, like that. Queues also, it is like inserting into the queue, delete an element from the queue, like that. So these are the things, common operations, which are for all the data structures. For trees also, creation of trees, adding nodes to the trees, deleted nodes from the trees, like that. So these are the operations for all the data structures that you are going to study. For that, you are going to study number of algorithms. Algorithm is what? A step-by-step, unambiguous set of instructions with a definite execution sequence, complete after finite amount of steps. That is step-by-step instructions to solve the problem, is it not? For example, in a stack, you want to insert an element into the stack, there is an algorithm. Algorithm, you have to implement it using a programming language C. Then it becomes, you are implementing the stack in C, right? Any high level language you can implement it in Java also. Here we are using implemented in C. So algorithm is what? It's just step-by-step instructions. The same thing you can implement it in a lab using a C program, right? So these are the common operations. In list also we have T types: single linked list, double linked list, circular linked list. Okay. So these are the types of the linked list you are going to study. And along with that, you are going to study some sorting and searching algorithms. Okay. What is sorting is what? Sorting is sorting. Sort means what? Arrangement of items, either in ascending order or descending order. So you are going to study number of sorting techniques and algorithms and implementation of that. That is shell sort, quick sort, radix sort, selection sort, bubble sort. So again, that is one chapter you are going to have that. And searching is, you are having two types. Searching is whether to search whether that particular item is present in the list or not. Okay. Linear search you are having, binary search. So this forms the data structures. So this is very important concept, data structures, in even in future at the time of facing an interview. Most of the questions they frame in data structure because it forms a building block for any advanced concepts. Data structure is the concept that you are for. Even if you study in future Python programming language, you should have the basic knowledge of data structures. So these are the things that you are going to implement it. Okay. And so this is about classification. One question is Pakka question, guarantee question. What is a data structure? It is the logical arrangement of data, organizing the data while we store it in computer. And you have two types: primitive data structure, non-primitive. Primitive, there are types: integer, float, character, pointer, structures, like that. Non-primitive, we have two types based on the arrangement of data in sequential fashion and non-sequential. One is linear data structure, another is non-linear data structure. Linear data structure, here the elements are stored in a continuous form, in a linear fashion. One item is connected with another item. We have arrays, stacks, queues and lists. In non-linear, it is hierarchical form and random type of organizing. That is, the items are arranged in a non-linear, one to many. One item is connected with many items. So this is, we have trees and graphs. So these things, one question is there, 5 marks or 10 marks, guarantee question. So these things you have to study. Thank you very much.